and we do have very many awareness issues and education issues regarding the use of pesticides. Is that not moving? Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. So there are some issues actually. If we talk broadly about the agriculture production system before 1950s and present agriculture production system, there are some issues like before 1950s, the agriculture production was based on organic production system. Even the dusty, I told you already that even the dusty organic local markets were selling very natural and organic food, and the ecology was not disturbed. There was wave of interactions. There was wave of interactions between pests and their enemies, predators, parasitoids, and diseases. And the wave of interaction was not destroyed. So the pest control and disease control was self-sustaining. Even the farmers, they had a very strong knowledge system. The knowledge system that was transferred actually from generation to generations. And most of these plant protection measures were preventive measures.
Yes, please. Yes.
But we can compare. Yeah, we can compare with the present agriculture production system. We can see even in a very complicated marketing system and production system, where there are very many actually control measures of use of pesticides, standard protocols. There are pesticide residues again, and there are maximum residues of pesticide even in consumables. So this is a very threatening and challenging to sustain the agriculture production system, because many of the pest species, the insects, even the weeds, and even the pathogens, they develop resistance against many of the synthetic pesticides. There are issues of pesticide outbreak and resurgence of the same pest that was supposed to be controlled before, and very many other negative impacts on human health and environment. We know that well. So this is a time to see the alternative for the pesticides, because synthetic pesticides produced by the companies, and many of the pesticides are produced by multinational companies, and experts and professionals recommended the use. So these are not functioning that well in agroecological system. This is one of the issues. And we can also begin a bit of story about the use of first synthetic pesticides in agriculture production system. We can see DDT was used by aeroplanes even to spray on broccoli seedlings to control the pest during 1950s, when the pesticides was like a very much welcomed control measures during that time, at that time. So we can see on next figure, probably you can see next figure, one family, beautiful family, they are happy with the pesticide fogger, DDT fogger. A truck is spraying of pesticides and they look happy with the fog of DDT. That was the time. So pesticides were welcomed without suspecting the impact on health and environment. So there are very many other impacts of those pesticides. I told already that many of the weeds, herbicides are the most used chemicals globally by volume and by active ingredient per hectare. But many of the weed species, they gain resistance against the pesticides. And we can see other environmental hazards. Our pest problem and disease problem are escalating because many of the pesticides are killing beneficial insects, the predators, parasitoids, and even the pollinators. So this is one of the major issues why the pest complexity and disease complexity is there. Because the synthetic pesticides we have been used for almost 70 years. They destroyed our production system, and web-like interactions among the living organism So there are very non-target effects of pesticides, though we probably destroyed self-sustaining control mechanism, pest control mechanism, and disease control mechanism. Even the birds, even the fishes are not safe because pesticides are drifted to river ecosystem. So these are the major issues that has challenged us to reduce or minimize the use of hazardous pesticides and see the alternatives for the best. We can see globally the use of pesticides is increasing again. In North America, the use of pesticides, active ingredient, is almost near to 4 kg per hectare. Even in African and Asian countries, the pest is increasing over the years, over the 30 years. So there should be a cut point, and globally the people probably should think and work on alternative measures to control the pest and manage the diseases and other very many biotic stresses in agriculture production system. There are very many examples, especially in Latin America, Asia, and Africa. The small farmers are developed over the years. They look very simple. They look very primitive, but they maintain a very strong ecological system. Suppose in the figure you can see that's a figure from Nepal. The farmer is producing millet after the maize. That's like a relay crop with the maize. And also you can see the cowpea that mixed with the cowpea. We can see the small individual farm, and we can analyze how sustainable the farming is and how sustainable the production system is. The field is never bare, so it is providing habitat for predators and parasitoids, means the beneficial insects, and the microenvironment, and also making a complete actual nutrient system, because the cereals are followed by legumes. We can see the cowpea is over there, planted with the maize. So this is a simple example how sophisticated and simple, working sophisticatedly, but was a very simple device developed by the farmers for years. And farmers have developed very different type of crop rotations and mixed croppings, especially in these developing countries. So they have diversified their crops and diversified their production system. Recently, there are a bit of shift from chemical pesticides to very innovative methods, like using pheromones, insect pheromones, to attack the opposite sex and kill the individuals of the same species. This is one of the innovative ideas to kill the insects without spraying any chemicals in the field or in the crop. So biopesticides are also very effective. The use of living organism, especially the entomopathogenic fungus, entomopathogenic nematodes, virus and bacteria, they are also effective. But it needs research because they have to synchronize with the life cycle of the insects. And they also need a basically productive environment for them to multiply. This might be one of the limits to use biopesticides or to integrate biopesticides with the synthetic chemical used agriculture production system. This needs really an organic sort of production system. At a farm or individual farm level, one farmer can use these alternatives as sex pheromones, sticky traps, light traps, and biopesticides if one has managed a farm in an organic way of production system. But if they are using chemicals, biopesticides might not be compatible with the chemical pesticides, especially the fungicides, if one is using entomopathogenic fungus. At a farm level also, farmers have devised very different methods. They develop a small stripe of grasses or minor crops The grasses are minor crops at the outskirts of the crop that provides habitats for the overwintering insects, especially the predators and parasitoids, and even the birds, small birds, and other animals that provide biological control to many of the crop pests. So some farmers are integrating pollinators in their cropping system. Like this is one of the picture from Chitawan. The farmer is using his honeybee hives to pollinate the sunflower field. He assumes using no pesticides protects predators and parasitoids. Those eat the pest of the sunflower farm. This is one of the very good farmer, organic farmer in Chitawan. So at a landscape level also, farmers can coordinate among the farmers and develop a hedgerow management system to protect the pollinators, parasites and predators, and even birds, small birds that prey on very many insect pest species. But the issue is the neighboring farmers also should practice good. They should not spray chemical pesticides. We know that there are challenges of insecticides and pesticides globally. But minimizing the use of pesticides is a very big challenge, because until today, the professionals and experts, they are primarily focused on control and therapeutic approach. I mean, controlling measures. And the farmers are the only people who are actually focused or developed preventive measures. So this is one of the issue. The professionals and experts have to change their research ideas and themes to develop the preventive measures to reduce the pest population, so we can reduce the use of pesticides. And there are some other issues like experienced farmers, they don't like to rely on experts because they don't want to bear any risks for the new methods. Even integrated pest management methods, farmers are not adopting well because they don't have capacity to bear the risks, whether the new method works or not. What will be the environmental impacts of those recently actually developed methods? There are also actually complexity of integrating various pest management methods that IPM actually postulates. So this is one of the issues to integrate very different control strategies. In some of the cropping systems, the farmer's choice and their objective conflict with the management methods, especially the cultural methods, because some of the farmers have different focus and different objectives of growing the crops. So they cannot adopt all the cultural methods. And there are also issues of crop diversification, especially in mechanized farming system, because if there is mixed farming or mixed cropping, so machine cannot work well because that needs crop spacing. So these are some challenges while incorporating or integrating different methods. So we should develop some future strategies or future interventions, and our directions on that should be at least to minimize the use of chemical pesticides. We have to redesign the production system at a field level, a farm level, and a landscape level, because they need different type of management system. And also the researcher and experts, they have to focus on preventive measures, because the farmers know well, basically the small farmers, they are very familiar with preventive measures. And we also need to intervene innovative methods like plant diversification at a landscape level, not at a farm or not at a field level. We should design a cropping system in a landscape level. And also about the for the efficacy of ecological control measures, that also should be done at a landscape level. So no farmers are using the risky chemicals, integrating these chemicals in that integrated pest management system. So ideally, we know the organic production system is the best, but it has limits, especially because of the lower production in the beginning of the years, beginning of the transition years. We know that restores natural pests and pest control system or disease control system, but transition to organic, the research shows the production might go down for a few years. But organic production system, those farms which are already organic, they are good because botanicals, biological control agents, and biorationals can be easily incorporated into the organic production system. There are also issues with the policy reforms, especially in developing countries, because the farmers or users are using chemicals haphazardly. And there are very many chemicals in use, and even the volume, and even the active ingredients. There's way away from the recommended dose. And farmers or the users are not using these protective devices during spraying. So health risks even for farmers who are using chemical pesticides. There are cases of pesticide poisoning, acute poisoning, and also intentional pesticide intake. In many of the rural villages, more than 1,500 people in Nepal die because of intestinal intake of chemical pesticides. This is the situation. So there are unreported cases, many still. So policy reviews, and we should be aware and enforce the users to follow the safety measures. And we also need research and extensions, especially focusing on indigenous knowledge system and local farmers' plant protection strategies, and also impact of pesticides on human health and our environment. So this could be evidence to move forward to design and develop ecological pest control measures. We also have to go for research because we need a strong research to innovate many of the new pest control strategies, especially for invasive species and introduced diseases and invasive weeds. So we need research, robust research to manage invasive pests and noxious weeds and even the introduced diseases. So these are the major future actually directions we need to care. So to minimize the use of pesticides and develop alternatives to the pesticides. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think it was a really very, very useful and very interesting presentation, especially the last part of your presentation about how to move forward. Come to the end of our session. So I think we are really, really very much thankful to all the presenters. First, for so meaningful, so useful, and so wisdom. Foundation would like to reflect some words. Yes, please.
Because our Danish friends are here, and also from Bangladesh, and our Nepali experts. So I just wanted to say that just before this webinar, we had a policy dialogue workshop here about the what could be the policy related to pesticide, chemical pesticide,